Welcome back, guys. I'm Zach. This is Cody with Extreme Outfitters, and today we're going to talk about the fastest crossbow ever. All right, guys, so I know most of the time we're talking compound bows, but we do dabble in crossbows. Actually, a lot of crossbows. And today we just actually got this bow in. This is from Tenpoint. This is the Nitro 505. So this is your top of the line crossbow.
In the market.
In the market.
No, John Douglas for Tenpoint. This is the fastest crossbow ever produced.
Ever. So.
Ever. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is beefed up. Like, they beefed up the rails right in here from what we were told from Tenpoint. I mean, everything on this bow is just heavy duty construction, and the strand count on the actual strings and cables is actually increased for rigidity and strength. And if you look at the rail system, it's cut out to make it lighter, but it's still reinforced with thickness with it. So this thing is just monstrous when it comes.
You notice too.
Oh yeah, we got the spaceship on top of it, man. The new Garmin, the range finding scope. These things are wicked. We've sold a few of them with the other bow they had last year, the RS 470. But this Nitro 505, it's got a new cam on there. I think it's called an RX 8 cam on it. Like I said, reinforced strings and cables, reinforced and beefed up limb pockets and everything. This thing's just
mean.
It's just an absolute. This is if you want one crossbow to do anything and everything with, from like killing whitetails to taking out elephants or lions or whatever, this will do it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So 505, that is the speed of the bow.
And that is not, so that is the minimum speed. Like this bow, it actually came in hot. They actually chronographed these bows and test them before they leave. This came in at 519. 519 with their bolt.
What weight bolt are they shooting? Is it 400
it's a
grain?
400 plus grain bolt, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually, the bolt is very special too. I think we have behind us one of the bolts right here. So you can't shoot a typical, bolt from Tenpoint from this. You actually have to make sure it has to have this aluminum collar on it. It just gives it more strength and rigidity, because when you're pumping out something 505 feet a second or faster, you might need to throw some aluminum on the back half to keep everything intact.
Hold it together.
Yep, and it's got the AccuSlide on there. The AccuSlide, the tether on it is actually, it's a new Dyneema material, so it actually adds strength as you're drawing it back and everything. It's silent cocking and decocking. This thing is just...
So 5-pound cocking effort. So,
yes, 5. There's nothing to take this thing back. A child can draw this bow.
So it's great for anybody who has any kind of shoulder issues. If you want to get a kid on a crossbow.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just about anybody can cock this thing, decock this thing, and shoot it.
And the nice thing is you got so many things that tell you about this. Like, even on the actual AccuSlide right here, it tells you what knock to shoot. It's called an HP knock, actually. Yeah, alpha HP knock. So it's just, like I said, reinforced. It's 5 pounds to get this thing get up and rolling, and silent cocking and decocking. That's nice in the stand, which I personally like. Paired with the Garmin scope on there, I mean, it's pretty much, that's the pinnacle. That's the echelon right there. That's as high as you can get.
So the great thing about this scope is it's actually got a rangefinder built into it.
Yes, it does, and it is super easy to calibrate. It does not take all day. It's a 10-15 minute process, if anything. And the battery life is supposed to last a year, so what we're told from Garmin. You actually have a pressure pad, so you don't have to tap anything up top. You have a wire that you actually strap through, and you can, a lot of guys, depending on if they're left-handed or right-handed, have it right there beside the trigger assembly itself.
So it's all right in that
yes.
trigger hand.
Yep, and then you also have, it comes with an adjustable buttstock in a sense. You can add a plate and create more depth if you need it.
Change the length of pull on the crossbow.
Yep, and it is 3.5 pound 2-stage trigger. There's no creep in it. So the trigger on this thing is second to none.
It's crisp.
Yeah, very crisp, very crisp. Other than that, it's just the most beefed up crossbow Tenpoint has ever came out with. They're guaranteeing it, like I said, you got a 5-year warranty on the limbs and cams and such, lifetime on the trigger assembly and everything else.
So it is the crossbow of crossbows.
That is the crossbow of crossbows out right now. Like I said, we haven't seen anything else come out from anyone.
Nothing's even close to the speed of this one right now.
Raven's got one that's 500, but I mean that is 505 minimum.
Right.
Like this thing came in at 519 from the factory, with the bolt that came with it. So I mean that's pretty gnarly. That's ridiculous.
So let's go ahead. We're going to take it on the range. We're actually going to draw this thing back, show you guys how it works, how it operates, and put one through it.
Indeed. We'll go over some safety features built in, as well as like the DFI pin that they have, the anti-dry fire pin. Let's go run this thing through the ringer, man.
All right, let's head over there. All right, guys, we're here on the range. We're going to show you how to cock, decock, and then fire the new Tenpoint Nitro 505. So if you'll notice, the cocking handle is stowed nicely in the stock. So all you got to do, pull that thing out, and it actually, what we'll do is clips right in there, and you can extend it. So what we do is we're going to go ahead and put it down, and we are going to release the, what do you call this, Cody?
That's the AccuSlide system right there.
The AccuSlide system. So we're going to release, actually, Jake, put it in here. 2,
third one.
Release it. We're going to manually
let that thing slide down. Keep going, keep going. You're going to hear a click. Just like that.
You'll get that audible click, and that means you are able to start cranking that string back. So it goes from fire to safe.
Yes.
And then you know you're good to start cranking that string back. So once it's there, all you'll do, start cranking it back.
And notice this is silent cocking, so I mean there ain't no noise coming from this.
Very easy, very smooth. Now let's say you want to go ahead and let this bow down for whatever reason. You notice you can let off the handle. It doesn't spin out of control.
It is a dual clutch system, so it catches without any tension on it. So that's nice, nice feature.
Yeah. So all you do from now is you're going to go ahead and take and back this thing down. And two options actually. So you can actually just leave it in that position, or you can take and release this trigger box. So what you got to do is you got to put it on safe. You'll take on your cocking device and flip out this metal rod.
Yeah, you're gonna flip it to fire, and then you'll see 3 machined holes inside here. You'll go in the one inside the middle.
So the small pin, you'll just take this and put it in. You'll hear it click. And then you'll take and flip this back over. And there's a pin right here that you'll push down. And you are able to go ahead and start
cranking that thing.
Crank this thing back in the stowing position.
And that pin that Zach just flipped up, that is the anti-dry fire pin. So how that works is, let's say if we don't have a bolt that's perfectly seated in there, or if we're not, if we're so in the zone that our knock's not all the way back to our string, that string will actually be caught by that anti-dry fire pin. So it actually only moves about 1/4 of an inch. So it saves your limbs, it saves your cams, it saves your strings. You'll just probably end up replacing that dry fire pin itself. So pretty cool feature to have in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and we will go ahead and crank this thing back. So we're going to crank it all the way down. Listen for that audible snap. You'll hear it. It snaps in place. Your trigger box goes from safe to fire, so we know we're good to crank it back. So all you'll do,
let it down just a touch more. There we go. Now we heard the click.
We hear it click. So now we're going to crank it back up and watch the limbs on this thing.
Those cams rotate 404 degrees. So I mean they're almost over rotating in a sense.
Look how small that gets.
Yeah, that is super parallel. My gosh.
So now,
compact.
Listen.
Right.
Crank. So now what we have to do is we have to take this and crank it counterclockwise 3 times.
2 without the clutch, 1 with the clutch on the last one.
So what you'll do, you'll see there's this right here is the clutch. So we'll go and crank it backwards. 1, 2, hit the clutch. And we are ready to stow.
And if we get a close-up, the reason why is actually inside this trigger wheel right here. You'll see this pin. That pin, you want it sitting flush in that arc system in there. So it's very small. If you see it's not flush in there, decock it just a little bit until it fits flush in there. And then that way you know you're ready to actually shoot your crossbow.
Right. So we're on safe. So what we need to do next is we need to go ahead and load this bolt. And this is going to be loaded. You'll notice the vanes, that odd vane is going to be loaded down. So you'll go ahead and slide it in, firmly seated. Always on crossbows, make sure you keep your fingers down. Last thing you want to do is lose your fingers.
And this thing will take them off.
So,
real quick.
And this is a 445 grain bolt.
That is the Evo Center Punch X bolt, or the Evo X Center Punch bolt that's included in the box. With a 400 grain bolt, this thing will hit 505 feet a second. With that bolt from the manufacturer, it is supposed to hit 485, somewhere in that genre.
So it's a little bit heavier.
It is a touch heavier, and I think it's got something to do with that brass insert that it's got on the bolt itself.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put it on fire. The bolt's seated, we're ready to go. So on fire, we're gonna put this thing through the chronograph.
Right in there, looks good.
So let's walk down there and look at it. So we got 483 on the chronograph. So that's with the heavier bolt. So that's right on. With
That's
what
right
they're
on
saying.
par. I wish bow manufacturers would be that close.
Yeah,
you know,
that's on point.
the Crossbow, that's pretty, and you know, give or take 2 or 3 feet a second with our chronograph. I mean, it puts it right there.
So one of the best features in the shop, best targets, especially for crossbows. Big shot Ironman target. Check this out.
Literally, yank
Noth-
it right out.
Nothing pulls easier than those targets. So what do you think, Cody?
That is a mean machine.
It is.
I'm glad they beefed up everything. The strand count's higher, the cable count is higher. The limb pocket is bigger and better than they've ever produced. The rail system's bigger and blockier for that reason as well. It's overbuilt, which is a good thing. You don't see that a lot in crossbows. It's meant to last. When you pair it with that Garmin scope on there, it's going to be a hard combination to beat.
Yeah.
But anything, you know, a 445 grain bolt moving at 485 feet a second, that's cruising.
It is. And one of the things we always talk about with our customers when they purchase a crossbow is string life too.
Yes.
So what are we looking at? What is Tenpoint's recommendations for changing out strings?
Dude, I tell everybody to change them every year, man. You know, if you have a Ferrari or Lamborghini, you're not going to go past the oil change date on it. You're going to probably change that thing when it's supposed to be changed.
Yeah.
Same thing with these strings. This is the Ferraris of the crossbows, you know. You got to treat it as such. I'd say after every 500 to 1,000 shots, replace them. And at least every year before your season comes in, replace these strings and cables. Yep.
Make sure you're lubing that rail.
So you actually don't need to on this one. This is
wow.
free floating rail. So if you can actually get on video right here, this string does not even touch the rail.
So there's no
that
contact.
that creates you know, more accuracy. It's like a free floating barrel on a
It
rifle.
extends the life of the strings, I'm assuming, too.
It does indeed. You don't need any rail lube as far as anything like that. So I mean, that's just a nice feature. It's something you don't have to have. But I would just say string wax and stuff like that on your cables and such, and you're good to go.
Keep it in the game. Cool. So let us know what crossbows you guys are interested in or you'd like to see us do a video on. We've got a bunch. We carry Tenpoint, Raven, Excalibur, Centerpoint.
We got Wicked Ridge coming in as
Wicked
well.
Ridge. So we carry a bunch of them. So if there's something you're interested in, let us know. Let us know what you think about the new Tenpoint Nitro 505. Yeah, follow us along on our social media channels, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.